Oh, now there's somebody else waiting in the lobby. So, right, I can confirm, Chairman, that the live stream has commenced. You are now live. However, there is somebody just waiting in the lobby. So can I just let them in for you? Chairman, you're okay to go ahead. There was nobody waiting there. They must have gone. So over to you.
Right, thank you very much, Helen, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this virtual meeting of the Cornwall SACRE, and a particular welcome to anyone who has joined us for the first time. We're all on a bit of a learning curve in having this experience of a virtual SACRE meeting. Before we begin today's business, I have to outline to you the protocols for the meeting and tell you that today's meeting is being live streamed to the public via Microsoft Teams and is also being recorded. When you are speaking, members of SACRE, you may choose to use your video so that we can see you speaking as well as hear you. If the Council's live stream fails during the meeting and we cannot share the proceedings, I will adjourn the meeting so that access can be restored. If the issue cannot be resolved, I will have to halt the meeting and the remaining business will have to be concluded at a later date. If a member of this meeting experiences a technical issue, I will adjourn for a short period to try to re-establish their connection. As I call you to speak, I will remind you to switch on your microphone. If for some reason you cannot be heard, the democratic officer, that's Helen, will advise you. The votes will be taken by roll call and the results announced by Helen, our Democratic Services Officer. Where a member has declared a non-registerable interest, a disclosable pecuniary interest, or an interest by virtue of any trade union membership in a matter, they must leave the virtual meeting. Their departure will be confirmed and they will be re-invited to rejoin the meeting at the appropriate time. So to confirm the procedure for today's meeting, those who wish to speak on an item, please put an X in the chat box and Helen will know that you wish to speak. So before we begin today's business, I will ask Helen, the Democratic Services Officer, to confirm members and officers' attendance. So Helen, do you want me to run through the list of people or will you do that for us?
Thank you, Chairman. I can do that.
Thank you.
So if I call your name, could you please announce who you are and the division you're representing if you're a member, or the group that you're representing for groups A, B, C and D. Thank you. So starting with John Keast.
I'm here.
Yeah. Can you just say who you are and who you represent, please? Thank you.
John Keast and I represent the Methodist Church on Committee A.
Thank you very much. And Felicity Henchley. Felicity, could you introduce?
Yeah, I'm Felicity Henchley and I represent the Church of England on Committee B.
Thank you, Felicity. Felicity is also, for the purposes of the live stream, our Vice Chairman. And Linda Sanders.
Hello, I'm Linda Sanders, representing Baptist churches, and I'm Group A.
Great, thank you, Linda. And Sandy Easterbrook.
Hi, I'm Sandy. I think I'm A as
Sorry, Sandy, I didn't hear that. I don't know if the live stream can hear that and other members. Could you just repeat that?
Sandy, representing the Catholic Church, and I think I'm in A.
Great, thank you, Sandy. And then moving to Group B, Anna Corbett.
Hello, yes, I'm here and I'm representing Group C, I think.
Group B.
Sorry, Group B. I'll start that again. I'm Anna Corbett and I'm representing Group B.
Thank you, Anna. Anna is Group B, which is the, and she's representing the Church of England. And then Katie Fitzsimmons.
Hello, I'm Katie Fitzsimmons. I'm representing the Church of England in Group B.
Thank you, Katie. Moving on to Group C, we have David Barton.
Good afternoon, David Barton, Group C, representing Cornwall Association of Secondary Head Teachers.
Thank you, David. And Greg Parrick.
Hi, I'm Greg Parrick. I represent Group C, Cornwall Teachers of RE.
Thank you. And Mike Heron.
Hi, I'm Mike Heron. I represent the National Education Union and I'm in Group C.
Thank you, Mike. And Group D, our Cornwall Councillors membership, Loveday Jenkin.
Hello, I'm Loveday Jenkin. I'm Cornwall Councillor for Crown and Wendron Division and I'm a Cornwall Councillor rep on this committee.
Thank you. And Mike Thomas.
Hello, Cornwall Councillor Mike Thomas for Halston North. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We also have on the SACRE some co-opted members, one of which is here today. Rita Stevens.
Hello everyone, so my name is Rita and I am co-opted member and I'm representing Cornwall Faith Forum.
Thank you, Rita. We also have two consultants, Cliflin Banfield.
Hi, I'm Cliflin Banfield and I'm the SACRE consultant.
Thank you. And Linda Rudge.
Hello, my name's Linda Rudge and I'm also one of the SACRE consultants.
Thank you. And we have our lead Cornwall Council officer here for SACRE, Graham Plunkett.
Hello, I'm Graham Plunkett. I'm Senior School Effectiveness Officer with Cornwall Council and I'm replacing Barbara Dyer as the advisor on this committee.
Thank you, Graham. And my name's Helen Snell. I'm the clerk to SACRE and I'll be taking the notes and taking the roll call. So back to you, John, for the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Helen, and thank you all of you for confirming your attendance and another warm welcome. So we move on to the first item on our agenda, which is apologies for absence. And I know that, Helen, you've received quite a few. Would you like to read them out to us, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, apologies for absence today. We have Eve Salthouse, Patrick Buckley, and Sue Nicholas. They are all from Group A. We also have apologies from Pete Mitchell, who is a Cornwall councillor from Group D, and apologies from a co-opted member, Joe Brooke. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Item 2 is declarations of interest, and so I have to ask you if you have any declarations of interest to make, please. I hear none, so I'm assuming that there are no declarations of interest of the technical kind that need to be declared. Now, item 3 of our agenda is a look at the minutes of our last meeting, which was held on the 10th of March at County Hall, which seems a very long time ago now. It was a long time ago, and it seems an age ago, given all that's happened since. My package did not include a copy of the minutes, Helen. I've only just realised that because I was looking at a draft copy earlier. Can you confirm that everyone received a copy of the minutes of our last meeting?
Chairman, that the minutes are not in the pack. I had not spotted that myself. The minutes are published on the website. everybody, including the public, has access to those minutes. So I don't know if members would like to view them again or if they've already viewed them.
I think I would like to suggest that, given that they are now public on the website and that we did check them before they were published, that we would take the minutes as read.
Okay, do we have a proposer for the minutes then, please?
Would someone like to propose that, please?
I'll propose them.
Thank you, Mike.
Who's that? Councillor Mike Thomas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seconder, please.
So, sorry, Helen, I've just looked on the website and they're not in the agenda report pack on the website.
No. Yes, Councillor Loveday Jenkins. I didn't spot that before. Councillor John Keast has actually just spotted that, our chairman. They are published as a draft on the 10th of March committee. For some reason, our system didn't pull it through, but I take full responsibility because I should have checked that the system didn't pull the minutes through. But they are a public record, available for anybody to view.
So Councillor Thomas has proposed that we take them as read. Can I ask if there is a seconder for that proposition? If we don't have a seconder, we can't put the proposition to the meeting.
Apologies, I'll second them. I was just trying to find them, just to make sure that I wasn't seconding anything that I didn't agree with.
Would anybody else like to second them that has read them, or would you like to adjourn for 5 minutes whilst you recap on the minutes?
Is it possible, Helen, for you to share your screen and just show them on the screen?
Yes, I will go and call them up on the website and share my screen. That's fine.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Just bear with me while I locate them.
I think we'll find that events have overtaken much of the discussion we had last time, because that was very much about the launches of the agreed syllabus, which never did happen.
Right, can everybody see my screen now?
Yes, thank you, Helen.
Yes.
That's good.
Yes.
So if you scroll through slowly, then we can see who was present.
So there's everybody that was present.
Can you move on to the next page?
Unfortunately, it's not scrolling, Helen. It may be.
Oh, I'm scrolling my screen. Would it be best if we adjourn, Chairman, and I send a direct link to you all?
I have now reviewed them online, and I'm happy to second them if people are happy for council to take Councillor Mike Thomas and my view that they're a true record.
I would much prefer us to do that if we can, so we can move on to the more substantive items.
I can confirm that I've reviewed them as well.
And I reviewed them. So the proposal is that we accept them as an accurate record. Mike, are you willing to make that proposal?
Yes.
And Loveday, are you willing to second that?
Yes.
So we need to move to a vote.
Okay, so can I just go through with everybody present, please, that you are in agreement with the recommendation. So I'm going to read everyone's names and then I'm going to ask if you are for, against or abstaining. So John Keast,
4.
Thank you. And Linda Sanders.
4.
Thank you. And Sandy Easterbrook. Sandy Easterbrook, are you there? Sandy Easterbrook? Sorry, okay, thank you, Sandy. That's a unanimous vote from Group A. So Group B, Felicity Henchley?
Yeah, I wasn't actually at the meeting, so can I vote?
Yes, you can still vote because you have.
I have read the minutes.
Yep, that's absolutely fine.
Yes, I agree.
And Anna Corbett?
I'm in favour.
That's 4. Thank you.
4.
Thank you very much. And Katie Fitzsimmons, you're a new member, so I won't ask you for your vote because you wouldn't have seen the minutes. But that is Group 2 with 2 votes, so that's carried from Group B. And then moving on to Group C, David Barton.
4.
Thank you. And Greg Parrick.
4.
Thank you. And Mike Heron.
I'm abstaining. I haven't seen them.
Okay, thank you. That's 2 votes from Group C, so that's carried. And from Group D, Loveday Jenkin.
4.
Thank you. And Mike Thomas.
4.
Thank you. So that's carried from Group D. So Chairman, I can confirm that the vote to confirm the minutes was carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Item 4 of our agenda, public questions and statements to the SACRE, which should have been with the officer by the 24th of September. I'm assuming you had none, Helen?
No, I've received no questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we stay with you for item 5, which is a verbal report on the membership of SACRE.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. We do carry vacancies with Group A. As everybody can see attached to the bottom of the agenda, there is the membership of SACRE. We do carry 5 vacancies in Group A. We have recently made 2 appointments to Group A, and that is Sue Nicholas, a Methodist representative, and Eve Salthouse, who is our new pagan representative. On Group B, we're carrying 1 vacancy, a Church of England vacancy, and we welcome Katie Fitzsimmons, who's our new appointment in Group B. Group C carries vacancies, and Group D, our members, 1 member, John Fitter, is no longer on the SACRE. All the vacancies have actually been chased, so we're trying to keep membership as up to date as we can. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Helen. And again, a particular welcome to those of you on the SACRE for the first time. And Katie, that includes you. I didn't realise you were with us earlier on because I can only see a few people on my screen at once, and you were on the other screen.
Oh, it's lovely to be here, John. Thank you.
Mike, would you like to say
Yes.
something?
Is it appropriate, Helen, to point out that John Fitter is no longer a member because he left the Conservative Party group? Sorry, the Conservative group.
Thank you for clarification, Mike. Thank you.
Yes, he didn't lose interest in SACRE. It was just circumstances.
No. Thank you for clarification.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mike, and thank you, Helen, for the update on membership. And as Helen said, we do try to chase the vacancies and ensure that SACRE is fully represented as possible. So we go to item 6, and this is a chance to welcome Graham, I think, to his first formal SACRE meeting. I don't think you were with us in March, Graham. So
no.
Welcome to you as Barbara's successor. And you've prepared the report on the budget. Would you like to please speak to that for us?
Yes, if I may. So this is my first budget report, and obviously I hadn't done one before, so be gentle with me, please. What I've tried to do for my own benefit, as well as obviously the report, is to try and summarise things up to this point. I think going forward, I'd like to do things a little bit differently, and I'll perhaps come to that in a minute. So I'm just going to talk to the executive summary, if that's okay. Hopefully the rest of the report is sort of as read and you've had a chance to look at it. But in a nutshell, the situation financially is fairly positive. The report includes a little statement there about the financial year 2018-19 and 19-20 to help me to get up to speed partly. And then the gist of it is the financial position as of 31st of March this year. For obvious reasons, nothing much has happened since that date. So at the 31st of March, there was a gross expenditure budget available of 32,500, and that reflected the budget allocation of 23,000 from education services and 9,500, which was to be drawn down from LTLRE. Now, actually, in the end, due to reduced levels of projected expenditure did not meet the expectations, we underspent, and therefore the LTLRE money was not drawn down. There was a slight overspend of £633, which was covered by education services. So we reached situation, as you can see in the table, if you have the report, for 2019-20, 31st of March, with in the right-hand column, almost everything being in an underspend bracket, which is great. And the allocation for this financial year is £15,000 from the budget, the education budget. That represents 1.57% of the school effectiveness budget. The LTLRE money is therefore still sitting there to be drawn upon if required. And we do have a small contingency of £2,500, which Cornwall Association of Secondary Head Teachers are holding for us for historical reasons. One of the issues in the report is the fact that we didn't do the syllabus launch as intended. Now, obviously, a lot of this will be covered in the action plan in a moment, but there is the issue of the funds that were taken from some schools, which is sitting unreconciled, and we intend to refund those to the schools, and then they will resubmit their applications to go on online training for the new specification, the new syllabus. So I think, in summary, that's all I really need to say at the moment, I think, unless I've missed anything critical.
Thank you very much indeed, Graham, for that. Is there any comment or question from a member of SACRE, please, on the budget report?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, your first question is from Loveday Jenkin.
Okay. Councillor.
Thank you, John. Yeah, it was really in relation to the launch or lack of launch of the agreed syllabus, and also the work that was being done on the Cornish extension.
Yeah.
And how much more money might be needed to complete that piece of work. Is there a need to have a contingency in place still to do that?
For the curriculum kernel work or for the launch?
Well, both.
The launch, in the report I say that the launch is likely to cost us less because we won't be using venues, we won't be paying for lunches, etc., and that is the significant cost when you're doing conferences and training events. Online training comes in a lot cheaper, borderline free, and so the cost will be kept down, although I think the consultants need to talk to that later, because I'm not sure what the plan is yet in terms of who and what the costs of that will be, how many schools we can have on a single event, etc. There's some technical issues around the IT as we've experienced today, which means that, there's a finite number of people you can have on a Teams call to make the training effective, and we need to really think very carefully about that. There have been discussions with Townsend Dower in our team about the technicalities of distance learning conferences, and we're getting there, but that's not sort of resolved at a corporate level yet into exactly what the protocols are going to be. I know that's a bit of a vague answer, but that's because it's actually in process of being discussed, but we will have that costed and make sure that that works. In terms of the syllabus itself, there's an online link available to schools and it's being posted out as well. That again presented technical difficulties because we didn't have the right size envelopes. Those had to be ordered. There's logistical issues about getting into County Hall to actually get hold of them and post them out. You have to book in advance and book your space and a desk and all the rest of it. We then had to get the stamps ordered, and the post room were a bit difficult about first class stamps, so we had to order second class stamps and they ran out, and it's been a bit of a trial. But the last few hard copies are being posted out. I believe Rachel Roberts is doing that today, and a large number had already been posted over the past couple of weeks and should be with schools now. The other bit about that, the curriculum kernel X stuff, I also do some separate work on that for the curriculum kernel X across the whole curriculum, and we have now pulled the materials together from the old curriculum kernel X website to a new one, which will host materials for all subjects in the curriculum, not just RE. We've also put together some stuff for PSHE already, and there are consultants working on that who are separately paid from the SACRE funds. I have paid out of the Cornish National Minorities Project funding, and I also have 3 full-time curriculum advisors who will be working on the Cornish curriculum, but also will be available to help our SACRE consultants with their online training. So those and that's a meeting that needs to be set up because it hasn't happened yet. That's a new team in post.
That's helpful. In terms of ensuring that one of the things that we were concerned about with the curriculum kernel was that it cross-linked across to the rest of the curriculum.
Yes.
So is that work still being done?
Yeah, that work is very much underway, and there will be working groups set up with schools to look at developing curriculum materials cross-phase, across the core subjects in the first instance, and then spreading out across the whole curriculum over time. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed, Graham, and thank you, Loveday, for that. Are there any other comments or questions before we move to the recommendations in Graham's report?
Yes, Chairman. Katie Fitzsimmons.
Hello.
Hi, Graham. Just really to come in on the end of that comment, and just to kind of offer the fact that when you're talking about that work with the curriculum kernel stuff, to kind of, if you could keep me in the loop with that would be extremely helpful, as I may well be able to support in some respects there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Katie, for that offer. So before we move to the recommendations, thank the Education Service for picking up the overspend of £633 for us.
Yeah.
I'm glad it wasn't any worse than that. And also thank you for setting out the budget available to us in this current financial year. So Graham has made 3 recommendations. Because of the fairly complex way in which we record votes, I'm going to ask you to vote on all 3 recommendations at the same time. And Helen will take us through that voting process in a moment. But you can see the recommendations are that we ensure that the funds are utilised in line with the identified areas within the SACRE development plan, which we'll be discussing in a moment. We note the financial implications of training for the new agreed syllabus, and that we note the budget allocation of £15,000 from Education Services for this current financial year. So I'd like us please to accept those recommendations if possible, and Helen, would you take us through the voting procedure?
Thank you, Chairman. In addition as well, in our group chat, for transparency, the link that is being sent to Katie by Graham will also be distributed to members of SACRE. And
thank you.
So if we move to the vote, first of all, if I could ask for a proposer, and I believe David Barton, you're able to propose. Could you confirm, please?
Yes, I'm happy to propose all 3 as they stand.
Great, thank you. And do we have a seconder at all? Somebody could put an X in the chat box, please. Felicity Henchley, thank you for, can you confirm verbally that you're happy to second, please? Felicity, you're on mute. Could you confirm you're able to second those recommendations, please?
Yeah. Hello. Yes, I'm able to second those 3 recommendations.
Thank you. Okay, if I go to the roll call vote again then, please. So this is for item 6, SACRE budget summary. The 3 recommendations as outlined by our chairman on page 1. So John, and if I could ask you please, you're voting for, against or abstain. So John Keast?
For.
Thank you. And Linda Sanders?
For.
Thank you. And Sandy Easterbrook?
For.
Thank you. That's Group A, all voting for. And Group B, Felicity Henchley?
For.
Thank you. And Anna Corbett?
For.
Thank you. And Katie Fitzsimmons?
For.
Thank you. That's Group B collective vote as for. And Group C, David Barton?
For.
Thank you. And Greg Parrick?
For.
Thank you. And Mike Heron?
For.
Thank you. Group C unanimously vote for. And Group D, Loveday Jenkin?
For.
Thank you. And Mike Thomas?
For.
Thank you very much. Chairman, that's voted unanimously for the proposals. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So we come to what is quite a substantive item on our agenda, which is the action plan. This gives me an opportunity to say thank you to Linda and Cliffy for being our consultants again in this current year. I see our meeting today very much about picking up the loose ends from the preparations that we'd made for the launch of the agreed syllabus back in March, which unfortunately could not happen. And there have been several things left over from that in terms of where schools are, where teachers are, where the syllabus is itself. And so very much we are picking up those threads and trying to get things back on schedule, albeit in a different way. And Linda and Cliffy were delighted that you two, who did so much with the teachers last year, are able to come back and carry on with that work that you were so involved with when we suddenly had to stop. So thank you very much for the action plan and the report which you put together for us. And I'm going to ask the two of you, in whatever way you wish, to introduce this item for us and the recommendations.
Thank you, John. I'll start. I don't know if Cliffy's here. I think she is.
Yes,
Cliffy,
I am.
Oh, great. I thought you were, but anyway, I'll begin then if you like, and you can, as we've discussed before, chip in when we need to.
No problem.
So we begin on page 7 of the papers for the meeting. Just to have an overview, if you wouldn't mind, of the recommendations first, John, so that people can read the action plan in that context. Okay, so the recommendations are there before you. I don't think I need to read them out loud to everybody, or would you prefer me to do that, Chair?
No, I think we're all able to see them.
Okay.
I think, sorry, Chair, for the public, it would be useful if they were read out.
Right. Thank you.
Oh yes, I keep forgetting that we're broadcasting to the public.
Right, thank you. So recommendation 1 is that SACRE accepts the revised action plan for September 2020 to 21, that should be 31st of March 2021, with any amendments agreed at the meeting. And that action plan is our Appendix 1. Number 2, that SACRE continues to improve RE in all schools in Cornwall through the actions of support networks, which of course include the Learn, Teach, Lead RE networks. For new members, that acronym we keep using, LTLRE, is Learn, Teach, Lead RE. We can explain more about that later if required. Also through training from the syllabus publisher, and that is RE Today, and through the learning outcomes of the agreed syllabus. Number 3, that appropriate resolutions are made to ensure the completion of the revised launch and implementation programme post-COVID-19 lockdown. Number 4, that the specific report recommended is allocated to the implementation of the RE element of Curriculum Canuic. On that note about Curriculum Canuic, or CK as we sometimes call it, the RE specific units start on page 158 of the new syllabus, and they're under Cornwall Council copyright. And I've put that in the chat line to remind us of the reference to the point when that begins. The rest of the syllabus, of course, is a generic syllabus. It is called the Cornwall Agreed Syllabus for RE, but it's under RE Today copyright. Number 5, the recommendation is that an evaluation programme for the new syllabus is devised within this academic year. So during the course of this year, both the consultants and the agenda group who've discussed some of these points in the action plan felt it was important to begin the process now of running an evaluation programme from the beginning rather than trying to do it all at the end. So we'll be looking for feedback from schools at key points during the life of this syllabus, so that at the end of this syllabus life, we will have that information to hand. Those are the recommendations, Chair. Is that enough on that?
Thank you.
Thank you. So if we turn from the recommendations to the actual action plan itself, which is on page 10 onwards. It's some time since we revisited the statutory duties and the key priorities of SACRE, and just to remind everybody that we have built this action plan over the years around those key priorities. So each of the sections refers to one of those key priorities. So from the point of view of going through each section, if I can just introduce the first one, which is evaluating the effectiveness of the locally agreed syllabus, and Clifflin will chip in where we need to highlight things that I perhaps don't know as much about as Cliffy does. Okay, so this section runs from page 11 to 13, and as you can see there, we have action to be done, the lead, who's leading each area, the time frame for it, and the projected outcomes and progress points that we will note along the way. There in the final column about projected costs, as Graham said, it's always difficult to work through the budget because sometimes things haven't been agreed in advance. So we're always looking back to the budget to see whether these things will fit. This report was checked by finance and legal, so everything seems to be okay. There may be decisions SACRE have to make today, which then feed into the recommendations about how we are going to carry out certain actions and whether we do them with RE Today staff or whether we do it in-house locally. Fine, so instead, again, I do hope I'm not going to have to read out every page. That's the only thing that's worrying me now, a bit on live stream. Obviously, this is in the pack of papers. Can I just check this has been published, hasn't it?
The agenda has been made public, yes.
So everything is in the public domain.
I'm reading it live, Linda, as you speak on the website, so it is publicly available. That's
fine. That's David. Thank you, David, for just reassuring us about that. So if we just go straight away from the first point, developing effective monitoring for use by system leaders, this is really about how we keep track of what's going to happen when it is properly launched. Now, of course, it has been launched, okay, in one sense, because it's been published and it's out in schools. Some schools have got it in hard copies. All schools that have asked for it have actually got the link online to the online version as well. But in discussion with RE Today colleagues, we have been thinking about an end of year one event proposed by RE Today to consolidate the first year of implementation. And there is an additional report attached to your papers in which that's highlighted. That's on page 18. So we need to think about that as a possibility. John, I don't know whether you want to take decisions as we go along or at the end.
I think I'd rather that you finish your introductions to it, and then we'll have questions and comments at the end.
That's fine. So one of the decisions we'll need to make is related to page 18, where we have been talking about the possibility of a future conference in early summer 2021, which is number 5 on that list. So 1.2, sorry, John.
Yes, we'll come back to that when you finish.
Okay, that's fine. 1.2 is the establishment of the focus item in hub meetings, and this has been done already. Can I take this opportunity just to say hello to all our hub leaders from around Cornwall, all of whom lead network meetings in their local areas. And we're really grateful to those people who've been keeping them going online through the summer term. And again, we've got meetings now planned online for this term as well. And that the new syllabuses have been part of those discussions already in those hub meetings. And thank you for welcoming me back, John. I just want to say hello to everybody on SACRE again. Got to say that at the beginning. 1.3, we need to think about reorganising launch events, as Graham said, through introductory training online, through our Today webinars. There is one, I think there, Cliff Link, sorry, can you just remind me, are there 3 available at the moment from RE Today?
No, there aren't 3 available, but there's 1 available, and they're proposing that we do 2 more.
Yes, that's right. So some schools will already have accessed the introductory training online through the first webinar, but others won't have done that yet, either because they don't know about it or because they haven't had time. And it will be good to work with RE Today to get some evaluation on their webinars through the participants as they work on it. Okay, so that again is referred to in the notes at the back on page 18. 1.4, if we can move on to the next point, we are working as far as we can all the time to make sure that schools have continuing professional development. Cliffy, do you want to say anything about the emails and queries you've received from schools and some of the CPD you've been providing for them?
I think that the main question that teachers are asking is the understanding Christianity part, because they believe that they feel they need to have the training for understanding Christianity before they can implement the syllabus, which, yes, it would help a lot, but it's not entirely 100% necessary, if you know what I mean. They can still get along without having the training. The other main question has been basically just how do we access the syllabus if they didn't have a hard copy, which I have already responded to and explained to them what they need to do. And I think it's just, at the moment, most schools that I have spoken to, and they're not many, but I'd say about 6 or 7 schools that I've spoken to have said that they're getting on quite well with the new syllabus.
Great. Thank you very much. Chair, do you want to take any questions at this point or to continue with the introduction?
Well, if you've come to a natural break in your introduction, you've nothing more to say on section 1 of that.
I think section 1 is covered by what we've just pointed out, except the last one, 1.5, about SACRE members having access to the syllabus.
Yes. Shall we just complete section 1 then, and then we can pause?
Yes, that's fine. So SACRE members have access to the syllabus, and many of them may have already got that because they are in a school, teacher representatives particularly. Others may have been looking for it or have already got it. We have a direct contact with somebody at RE Today who will provide an online password for SACRE members to access the syllabus online now that it's fully published and accessible. We can do that quite easily by putting it into the notes and then having that transferred into the minutes, if you like. What we can't do is pass on the password ourselves.
So can you just clarify that, Linda? So we can't pass on the password?
No, but we can get RE today to pass on the password to SACRE members.
To individual members of SACRE.
Yes.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right, so we thank you, Linda, for that on section 1. So we need to just address ourselves to the issues you've raised.
Yes.
Any comments or questions, first of all, to Linda on section 1 of the action plan?
Chairman, you've got 2 members of SACRE that wish to make a question or comment. Sorry, 3 now. If we take them in order, David Barton, Loveday Jenkin, Greg Parrock.
Right, okay, then off you go, David.
I started typing it in the chat, but then when you said Linda was going to pause, I decided I'd stop typing and ask it instead. I don't know I'd be interested in Greg and Mike's views in particular, and other teaching colleagues on the committee. I did the online training during lockdown as soon as the syllabus was published, and I thought at a strategic level, I thought it was really, really good. There's real clarity as to how the syllabus is designed, the intentions behind the syllabus, and as I say, strategically, I thought it was really, really good. I'd be interested in how teachers and practitioners on the ground and in the classrooms across primary and secondary found the training, as to whether they found it as useful as I thought it was. But I thought that was a really good start. And do make sure you don't pass the password on, John, because otherwise we might have to shoot you.
Well, I haven't got the password, so I can't do that. Thank you very much, David, for that affirmation. Loveday, you were next.
Yes, one of my questions has been answered, which is about how we get access to the password. But the other really is there's something in here about schools using bits without paying for the whole lot. How would that work? And just while I'm still here, also on the curriculum Canuic, I thought we'd had a discussion that was going to be made freely available to all schools, since it was based on previous work that was open to all schools. But how would that work?
Are you able to answer those questions, Linda?
I can try, John, yes. As far as, can I take them backwards, because I've probably forgotten the first one. Curriculum Canuic is freely available to those schools that register for the syllabus. It's at the back from page 158 onwards of the published syllabus. So those units are available. Was that what you were referring to, Loveday? Sorry,
no, because in order to register for the syllabus, you have to pay out some money initially. So is there going to be anywhere where the Curriculum Canuic information is available without having to register for the whole syllabus?
Thank you for the clarification.
Looks like it might be Cornwall Council.
Yeah, Graham has a comment here.
Yeah, just to say that's what I was alluding to earlier, the web link, all the previous materials that ASUC were holding have been migrated to a Cornwall Council page. I've asked Townsend Dower for the web link to provide to you all, but she's actually on leave until the end of this week. But as soon as we got that, we'll get that out to you. But all those pre-existing materials will be still available, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, what about the additional work that various people were doing to look at producing resources associated with the existing material?
I can't answer that. Linda, Griffin?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, Loveday, are you referring to the group of people that were putting Curriculum Canuic together for the syllabus?
Yes, they were going to produce some additional resources related to the existing material, I thought.
Not that I'm aware of, but there was no work party put together to put resources together.
I don't think that was in the original action plan. It might be that it's a good thing to do that at some point. But at the moment, I don't think the issue arises of access to that material, because I don't think it's actually being done. Unless Linda knows something else that I don't know.
No, I think, John, may I just clarify for members of SACRE, that that what the Teachers Working Group did last year was to write units of work to be published at the back of the new syllabus, which would have the Cornish element in it.
Yes.
Those units have been published.
Indeed.
Now, if you would like those publicly put onto the Cornwall website, I don't see there'll be any problem with that, because they're under Cornwall copyright. We
Yes,
would need
please.
to have a quick conversation with Ari today. Yep, that makes sense.
That's what I was alluding to. You know, that those elements that have been worked on should be available on the Cornwall website.
Yeah.
Yes. Curriculum Canoe was always available on the Cornwall site. Yeah. So the first question that you had, Loveday, I've forgotten what it was now because I didn't jot it down.
Oh, it was about schools accessing elements without registering for the whole thing.
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
On page 18, it says that costs, hard copy of the syllabus £30, webinars £30. Other schools to pay for what they use. I wasn't quite clear what that meant.
Yes, these are the discussions we're having with the RE Today team to try and to make sure that the CPD is still going on and is available. So this is number 4 on page 18.
Yes.
Clifflin, you might have to just join in with
Yeah,
me
sure,
here,
no problem.
if you can remember some of the details. Because Cliffy put this together after our discussions with the RE Today staff team, and I think I've understood from Graham, from what Graham said in the budget report that we were presented with, and from his explanation, that schools are actually going to be refunded, Graham, for the launch costs. Is that right?
Some have already requested refunds because the conferences didn't happen as originally planned.
Yes.
But not all have. But I think that's perhaps a decision we need to make, is whether we just refund everybody and start again.
Yes. Schools will have been sent now a hard copy of the syllabus, which RE Today tell us is worth about £30. So I think if you were to do any refunds, we'd have to remove that amount from the refund you were giving to schools, if that makes sense, because they've received it or will have received it. And then there is an introductory webinar which is already published and is accessible to everybody with the password, and RE Today have costed that about £30. So it looks as if we would refund the balance of that to the school, and then they can get access to other webinars as and when they want to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Does that answer Councillor Loveday's, Councillor Jones' question?
I'm still not clear what the other schools that aren't registering, how they will pay and what will they pay for.
I think to answer the question, and if I may,
yes,
is that what RE Today are recommending is that because all schools will have received a hard copy, therefore they would be charged £30, and if they have accessed and registered to get the password to download the new syllabus, that would be another £30. And then they were suggesting that we have 2 CPD webinars maybe in the summer and that would be charged as an if schools want to take part. Does that answer the question, Loveday?
I'm still not quite clear, because that's it says that, but then it says other schools to pay for what they use.
In other words, if they choose to watch if they choose to do the CPD via webinar later on in the summer, next 2021.
So instead of paying money up front at registration, they pay additional money when they access the webinar.
Yes, because not all schools have paid their £110 when they booked to go on the launches, but the schools that have paid for the launches will, from what I understand, Graham, is that they've been refunded or will be refunded part of the money. So what RE Today was saying, that if they are refunded part of the money and we the council keeps the £30 for the syllabus and £30 for the introductory webinar. Should they wish to do the other two, they can pay then.
Right. So can schools just pay £30 and get the hard copy and not register for the webinar?
I would imagine they could do that, but it would be a great disadvantage because the webinar, as David was saying, is a very good webinar, and it helps a lot to watch that so that they can use the syllabus to its best, to the best advantage of it.
Yeah, it's just that obviously at the moment with schools trying to get back to any sort of normality, they might wish to have the hard copy to look at and then decide who's going to go on the webinar and do the webinar later.
Yes, so do we need to clarify that this is the position, or do the schools know this already?
I don't think the schools, I think all the schools that registered to go on the launches have, well, in fact, all the schools in Cornwall have received an email from myself inviting them to register with RE Today so they can watch the webinar.
Yes.
Their choice, it's their choice whether they have or they haven't.
Yes. In some cases, though, we will be holding money from them for the launch that never took place. Is that correct?
If they've paid up front, yes.
Yes, if they paid up front, that's right. So there would not be any extra costs for them.
No.
If there are schools that have not paid anything for the launch events, they have still received hard copies of the syllabus, presumably.
And to the webinar, access to the webinars.
And access to the webinar, yes. So we're in a bit of a kind of mixed situation where some schools have paid, but not taken advantage of what they've paid for. Other schools have had some things which they've not paid for because they didn't apply for the launches. That must only be a small number.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a record from RE Today that 185 schools have registered with them for, I'm going to say this, Clifton, just in some trepidation, I think this is right. That means that they have got the password and can go online and get access to the webinar.
And the syllabus, yes.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's good.
So 185, I think, is a good number at this stage, considering what happened.
Yeah.
And I can only thank all our colleagues for making sure that people were aware that, you know, the syllabus was still going to go ahead and that the resources were there for schools to use.
Yeah. Graham?
Yeah, sorry, I think that list of people registered with RE Today needs to be cross-matched with our list of people who paid for the conferences, so that we can actually tidy this all up.
Yes. I have tried, sorry, Graham.
Sorry. Just let me finish, please. Thank you. I think that also needs to be reviewed against the comment you made earlier about schools saying they didn't know about it. So I think, you know, in terms of this being a reset moment, we need a much clearer promotion of this to schools. I'm obviously not in schools. I don't know how that's been received in schools via email or whatever. And just cross-reference that, because we need to make sure that everybody has had the folder. Everybody has actually had the opportunity to get onto the webinar, and that those people that haven't, we can then contact them and put them on the right track and steer them in the right direction. And also just tidy up the finances, further to which I'm asking for a monthly report on the finances from Helen Watlington in finance, so that we can actually keep a close track on this, so we can match it on a regular basis to this kind of planning, so we know where we stand and we know what we're buying into.
Yes, I think really that's a good idea. I think we do need to cross that so that we know exactly where we are and schools know where they are.
Graham?
Yeah.
Yes, Linda.
I don't know if Cliff is going to ask the same question. Who is it that we as consultants should liaise with to make sure this cross-referencing is being done?
Me.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
So Graham, sorry Graham, does that mean that you will do the cross-referencing, or will you be sending us the list of who's paid what and then we do the cross-referencing?
I'd rather you did the cross-referencing, and that this is because you're doing the work, and then I'm in a position then to pull extra resources to support you if I need to from my curriculum team, or to you know, if schools need chasing, we can do that for you, and so forth. But I think we just need to just pull that together a bit more, so that, you know, you're supported in what you're doing, but I know what's happening, so that when I write the budget report, I've got a much clearer idea of where we are.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. That's been very, very helpful. Thank you for raising that, Loveday. I think there was another issue that you raised, Linda, about what was paragraph 5 on page 18, about an early summer conference next year, as to whether we're going to aim for one of those or not. I think you said RE today would need some advance warning if we're going to do something of that kind.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there any comments on that from members of SACRE? I have a view, but I would like to hear from members of SACRE.
Chairman, it's Helen Snell, Democratic Services. You still have questions outstanding from Greg Parrock,
great, yes.
Henchley and Graham Plunkett.
I'm sorry. So yes, Greg, many apologies. I did note that you wanted to speak, so please do so now.
Thanks. I've just got a query around kind of the understanding Christianity bit. Myself, particularly, as I've raised it a few times over previous meetings around how important it is. I think that training's offered in a bit more of a wider scale. I think especially more important now that we have gone with RE Today syllabus, in which the kind of foundation of kind of the units of work in Christianity are based upon that. And for lots of the secondary schools, particularly in Cornwall, that, you know, I have been working with or speaking to, I think that there is a concern around, you know, the confidence to kind of plan, resource and deliver high quality lessons based on what we're provided with without that. And I think though it might not be 100% necessary to have that training, I think that we should be doing all we can to offer that at you know, a reasonable cost, because one of the concerns I have is that we're buying into this national syllabus, and that actually we're telling people and schools this is the syllabus that we're following, but actually what we're not telling them is a big part of that is linked to understanding Christianity. I think that kind of does work together, and I think particularly, and we need to be realistic about this, where there are a lot of schools who have non-specialists driving RE. If we want high quality, good RE for our students, we need to be providing good quality CPD and training and resourcing for the teachers that are leading it. And so I think that's something that I think we really need to consider how we're going to fund that and put that into place, as well as kind of maybe subsidizing for maybe certain places that were unaware of it. So that's kind of like the first point I wanted to make. And things around the webinars, I think we need to kind of offer those as quickly as possible. I think there is, you know, through the COVID situation, obviously launch happened very differently, which is understandable. But I think there are still going to be a lot of schools that are going to have this sat on their shelf, aren't going to be delving in and using it unless they get some more training and some more direction with it. So that would be kind of a couple of kind of queries that I would like to have raised.
Thank you very much, then, Greg. So let's take them one at a time. Katie, did you want to come in on the understanding Christianity point?
Yes, I can see Felicity's mentioned it. I suspect Cliffy's also kind of raring to say. We're very fortunate that Salisbury Diocese got in touch late July to say that they were running some training and that was going to be online. They've reoffered that training. So for Key Stage 3 secondary colleagues, there is some training there, and there is. I mean, the first session is on Friday, but there is a train the trainer session, which is extremely competitively priced if people are keen to look at that. So I know that that's been made kind of shared through the LTLRE kind of hub leaders network. If people want to contact me or contact Cliffy and the other LTLRE leads, then they've got the booking details for that. And that is something that I am very keen to see how I can, you know, from a diocese perspective, how we can support with that. Because I completely agree, Greg, it is about people who are perhaps non-specialists driving this, and giving them access to that training will be such a help. So I'm very happy that we've got that offer available.
Good, thank you very much. I see Cliffy's got a hand up. I can't tell if anybody else has got a hand up.
Sorry, just to say what has already been said by Katie, that Ed has sent through an email to say that secondary Understanding Christianity is free through the Salisbury Diocese. But also, Linda, I think you're going to be coming to this point in your action plan somewhere along the line about the Understanding Christianity. Am I right?
Well, it's 1.42. We've sort of whizzed past it on the page 12 section, Cliffy. Yes, it's important that primary colleagues also have access to that, and we have suggested that the primary colleagues can use some materials from Ed supporting our two local trainers, Felicity and Nikki, I believe. I don't know if either of them have got their hands up, but may be able to help us with that.
Felicity, do you want to come in here?
Yeah, hello. Yes, I'd be willing to run some training, and Nikki's been trained as a trainer as well, and we have led training before in Cornwall. So any schools that have not picked up any training at primary level, we would be able to do, but we'd need to advertise.
Now, the Katie said, sorry, I shouldn't butt in, but I'm just trying to work this out. The secondary training is free, is that what I heard?
Yes.
Yes. And so the same should apply to the primary training. Okay.
Yeah, well, train
Is
the
that
trainer.
right?
Train the trainer primary training that if they want to become a trainer for primary schools, then they have to pay so much money plus £75 for understanding the training pack. So so that's with Salisbury Diocese, but with Salisbury Diocese for the Key Stage 3, the training's free, but then they'd need to pay £75 for the pack if they haven't got the pack.
Right. Okay, this is quite complicated, John. I'm not sure if SACRE needs to make a decision or if we just take this forward afterwards amongst the consultants and the Learn, Teach, Lead RE network.
Well, I was going to suggest something very similar, Linda, because this is something which I think all of us on SACRE would want to see progressed in the most efficient way possible. And it's, I think, a case of you, those of you working in the field, as it were, get together to work out the best way forward here to meet the point that Greg made about the need for training, and also to encourage the schools to pick up the webinar opportunities as soon as they can, given whatever circumstances they're working under at the moment, so that we don't lose momentum here. And it might be that the two of you and Felicity and Katie just pool your ideas here and come up with something which is clear for schools to be able to patch into.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Importantly, also, if it just allows us perhaps to access some of the funding, as again, Greg quite rightly points out, it is expensive. It's not just the training, it's the supply. So let's have a look at how we might be able to work together to support on that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you.
Graham, did you want to come back in?
Chairman, it's Helen Snell, Democratic Officer. Can I just say that there's still somebody in the list that wants to ask a question? Mike Heron?
Oh, Mike, I didn't realise you were there waiting, Mike. Please, so there's Graham and there's Mike.
No, my question's been answered. This is all fine.
Okay, then, Mike, is there anything you would like to say, Mike?
Yeah, sorry to, I forgot to press the send on the X. I've been sending X's for about the last 5 minutes, but not sending it. Really just to pick up a little bit of what Greg was saying and what quite a few speakers have said, really. I mean, the RE Today thing, we remember, is a business. And when we're talking about the webinars, they cost. When we talk about the CPD, they cost. When we talk about buying the resources, they cost. And I think what we need to do in SACRE is to try and find a way to bring a lot of this training together, because I can see a few flaws in this SACRE action plan here, because I purchased the resources from our school and it was £100, and when I got them, to be honest, they were okay. They weren't brilliant, they were okay. a massive gap because they don't provide anything on Christianity, because that's all covered by the Understanding Christianity package. So if I want to buy anything for Christianity, I have to then also buy that package. So why am I saying this? Well, there's an issue of cost for schools. I'm quite lucky in my school that we can afford to buy these things, but not all schools are in that position. And there's still gaps in the CPD. And according to the action plan, we're going to be able to pick this up in our hub meetings. Well, I'm part of the Lead Teach RE, and I don't believe we are going to be able to pick all of this up in a hub meeting because we don't get that many teachers come along to it from the secondary sector. I think there'll be gaps in the training, and I'm just a little bit worried about how we're going to actually, as a SACRE, fill those gaps in the training, because RE Today is a company that does want to make a profit, and I just have a little bit of a concern, really. I know that's maybe sounds a bit like a rant, but I do have a few concerns about it. All looks great, saying it's all going to be high quality and it's going to be focused, but they're just words, really. I want to know how it's going to actually work effectively.
Well, thank you, Mike. Happy with your rant. We have to get things off our chest. I just want to clarify, RE Today is a charity that has to break even, and it is a business in that sense, but I don't think they're trying to make a profit. I
didn't mean that, really.
Exactly, yes, I'm sure we agree on that. You're quite right to raise the question of the costs, because it does cost money. I mean, nothing is free. So we do have to try to work out what is the most efficient way of working this. And that's why I think it will be wise for the people working in the field to come up with what might be the best packages for this, knowing that not all schools are in the same position in terms of their resources. And if SACRE is able to help with the budget that it's got, then obviously that's something we could consider doing. It's where the detail of the action plan needs to be firmed up. It was very hard, I think, for Linda and Cliffy to put an action plan together with the uncertainties left over from the situation in March.
Thank you, John.
So just to make sure we're back on track, whatever the track is, I think we have to complete the look at the action plan, because all that was based on section 1. Yes. And one of the items there we still didn't deal with, and that was the early summer conference that was raised for next year. I have to confess, I'm a little bit unsure about the wisdom of planning something too definitely for early summer next year, given the uncertainties that we're still facing over the winter period, and that education itself is still facing with, with the way in which the virus might grow in the winter period and may hopefully subside again. I'm not sure how wise it is to make any definite arrangement for a face-to-face conference at this stage, but other people may have a different view. Anyone want to come in with a comment on that?
Chairman, you have one member wishing to make a comment. Loveday Jenkins.
Loveday, please speak, Loveday.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult thing to decide. My view is that we will still have disruption by next summer, but on the other hand, perhaps we need to just plan with the assumption there will be disruption in place, and that we actually plan for something that can be online or physical, if physical is possible.
Yes, it'll be in a new financial year if it's a May conference next year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And of course, we don't know, at least I don't know, what kind of assessment arrangements in schools will be fixed for May next year, given that that's when SATs used to take place. Heaven knows what's going to happen with that in 2021. I'm very keen that we do provide an opportunity for this, because it's very important for us to have the momentum of the new syllabus as high as possible. I just didn't want us to start making plans that we had to unpick because the situation wouldn't allow it to proceed.
Well, having attended a number of online conferences, it is possible to set something up with breakout rooms and different sessions. Probably slightly easier with Zoom than Teams, I don't know, but it is possible to do something which could then also be recorded and made available to schools that couldn't attend. The question, I suppose, is the financing of it.
Yes. Well, being in a new financial year, obviously we'll be in a new budget situation then.
Chairman, it's Helen Snell, Democratic Services Officer. You do have two more people wishing to raise a question, David Barton and Mike Thomas.
Right, thank you, David.
You've said part of it, John. I think May will be early to be planning too rigidly for face-to-face. We don't know when the exams are going to be in secondaries, what testing there will be in primaries. And frankly, by the time we get to that stage, schools are going to be broke because they're spending thousands at the moment on ensuring COVID security, and allowing teachers out of school is not going to be very high on anybody's agenda come next summer, sadly. Equally, though, if we said, well, let's go for something in, let's say, late September, some of those things will still be the case. It's so difficult to plan. Love Day is right. You can do things with Zoom conference facilities. It's not the same. Of course, it's not the same, but it depends how the conference is tailored. But other people have said the other things I was going to say.
Yeah. Thank you very much, David. Sorry, who was the second one? Oh, Mike Thomas. Yes, Mike.
Yes, thank you, John. I agree with what the speakers have just said, and but I think your point is we don't want to lose the momentum. And I think if there was something planned, maybe on a smaller scale, that would at least give some feedback to see how things have gone. So maybe a hybrid version, or just some smaller conferences, local perhaps.
Thank you. So Linda and Cliffy, you probably heard the sentiments expressed by people.
Yes.
We don't want to lose momentum, but we obviously don't want to engage in a lot of planning which proves to be unrealistic in the end.
Yeah.
Can we ask you to consider this again? I think we've got another SACRE meeting coming up at the end of November or early December. And I'm wondering whether you could go back and have an extra think about this and bring something to us at the next meeting.
Yes, of course. Yes. And thank you, John, for your comment earlier about how difficult it's been to bring everything together. Clifton and I became were reappointed again at the beginning of August. So this has been quite a short time scale to get everything collected together with a series of proposals. So we're very happy to work on that, I'm sure.
Thank you. So I'm going to have to take a comfort break myself. So Felicity, as the Deputy Chair, can you chair the meeting while I absent myself for 2 minutes and carry on with the SACRE action plan?
Yes, that's okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Linda, you to continue with the action plan?
We did miss out one point from the action plan first section, which is on page 13, 1.6, which is for SACRE to start thinking about this. Doesn't have to be decided today, but I think there is some considerable mileage in thinking about how we fund a long-term study of the impact of this syllabus, taking on board everybody's points from earlier on, particularly about the position schools are in at the moment, and also to try, this is something that we can work on as consultants behind the scenes, to think about national funding and grant awards and prizes that might be available, because that should be something positive we could be working on, even if schools don't have a budget next year for RE, and who knows what they will have a budget for. We will know that at least something is underway for us to be looking at how we continue to improve RE in Cornwall in the future. So that's section 1 finished, unless anybody, Felicity, would like to comment or question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Section 2 starts on page 14, and a lot of this, of course, is just cross-reference back to section 1 in terms of how we will try to provide the CPD and improve quality in the provision and standards in RE. And this relates back to the SACRE's priorities, if you recall, from the beginning of this item on the agenda. So we are working with SACRE members, with members of faith communities and others within hub meetings across Learn, Teach, Lead RE areas to make sure that we've got people aware of meetings that are going on and that they are able to attend themselves. So 2.1 provides some indication of some thought behind improvement in RE over time and making sure that local networks and partnerships with faith communities are built on. Number 2 is just referring to key regional training that people have participated in and contributed to. And same with number 3, 2.3. I'm sorry, I'm racing through this. Helen, I'm aware I should probably be reading out each one. 2.3 is to promote teacher, school and SACRE involvement in national initiatives and competitions. For example, Spirited Arts and the NASCA West Hill Awards, the RE Quality Mark, REC Young Ambassadors Scheme, and so on. All of these are national schemes that some schools participate in. So these are sort of things that we can mention in newsletters to encourage schools. Particularly, I can't remember if anybody on SACRE has participated in Spirited Arts, but it is one of the ones that a lot of pupils enjoy contributing to and taking part in. So we also have been asked by RE Today under 2.6 to promote their support materials. Now, I'm quite worried about mentioning this again, particularly in the light of comments from people earlier, but on the notes in our appendix from our discussions with RE Today, number 6 says, RE Today would like schools to be encouraged to buy in the resource of the backup schemes of work. Could SACRE please help us by publicising a paragraph that makes our offer to schools for the scheme, because it was a special offer. So that is something I think SACRE will have a view on. Shall I give time for discussion? Any points?
Hello, it's Helen Snell, Democratic Officer here. Elizabeth Folkes has actually mentioned something in the chat box. Elizabeth, do you wish to make any comment at this stage?
Well, it was just to mention that we did Spirited Arts, that's all. We, talking about the match play competition, we did it as part of a lockdown activity, but that was it really.
And have you had the results yet?
No, I think they're being judged about now or maybe even later, but I know that they had a huge influx of entrants. I don't hold out much hope because ours weren't great, but they were an attempt, and they were done during lockdown, so it's quite difficult to sort of guide them through it, because I think a lot of schools actually spend time teaching it as a part of their scheme of work. So we did our best. Thanks.
Thank you. So can I move on to section 3? Or
Linda,
is there something you would like resolved from section 2?
Linda, just before you carry on, we've also got a comment coming in from Felicity, please.
It was just that your 2.6 promoting RE Today support materials. I think a number of schools have bought that and they are finding it useful. Yes, they needed to purchase it before September to get a much better deal. And so a number of schools did think,
I think they're going to do that. We'll double check that, Felicity. Thank you. Can I come straight back to you rather than going through the chair? No, you are the chair.
No, I'm not now.
I think we'll check with RE Today that if we do promote it, that the special offer still applies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, I'm back again, Felicity.
Yes.
Doing that. Please continue until there's a natural pause. Finish.
Okay, thank you. The partnership section on section 3 is how we manage our partnerships around, again, such things as community links and interfaith networks. And it mentions particularly, Rita, I think might have left now, unfortunately, but the Cornwall Faith Forum. Cliffy and I both now on Cornwall Faith Forum's education group, and the Learn, Teach, Lead RE steering group meeting that had been postponed in March has now taken place. So those schemes or those bodies that we work with closely have been in touch in various ways. 3.3, identification of resources to manage and promote SACRE and its responsibilities, including support to consultants, and introduction to SACRE for new members. This is an ongoing item. We don't have anything specific to report, but I just wondered if anybody had anything to reflect back. If you remember, you had said, this was not when I was not on SACRE, that it would be helpful to have introductory materials for new members to the Standing Advisory Council.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. Well, that's something I think which is an ideal thing to have. And there used to be some published materials for new members of SACRE. I remember getting hold of some about 2 or 3 years ago, and maybe we could do that again. The cost will be minimal for that.
Yeah, and I would.
It's Helen Snell again. We've on that same subject. Katie Fitzsimmons would like to comment.
Thank you, Katie.
Just to say that yes, that would be brilliant, and just to say that in my own sort of poking around trying to find stuff out, actually it's not always easy to find, and obviously things are moving and things aren't perhaps where they used to be, so I really think that would be enormously helpful.
Yeah. Right, we'll put that into the action plan then.
And Chairman Helen Snell again. Loveday Jenkins would like to make a comment, please.
Yeah, just on that, I think it would be useful to liaise with the Cornwall Council officer on that to see what could be put up on the Cornwall Council website in relation to the role of SACRE and SACRE meetings and the role of the different organisations, since the accountability lies with Cornwall Council at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I'm sure Graham heard that.
That's what I hoped.
Thank you. 3.5 is updating national links for Cornwall, which brings me to mention national updates that we will bring to meetings during the course of the year from such organisations as the Interfaith Network and from the Department for Education, obviously, and HMI if we need to. I put a note. We put a note in the action plan here about the fact that I'm now acting chair of NASACRE. Thank you very much for your vote of confidence to nominate me as vice chair of the National Association of SACREs. That then led to me becoming acting chair. So, Katie, when you're looking for resources, one of the most useful sites straight away for SACRE members is the NASACRE website, which is also being updated at the moment. The publication of the annual SACRE report, John, I know you're going to come on to yourself. So do you want
a separate item? Yes.
Yeah, separate item. And over the page, I don't think we need to do anything for decisions for SACRE, apart from in the costs bit. Graham might want us to say something about budget at this point. Sorry, 3.6. We might need an internal budget reserved for the report, the annual report, which we'll come to under the other item. Over the page then, page 17, you'll be pleased to hear we're nearly finished with the item on promoting improvement in the quality of collective worship. We also were to receive a verbal report on this under your agenda items, number 9. We may have covered it all by the time I've finished saying this, so we'll come to that again later if we need to. As you can see there on the action plan, SACRE's responsibility still considers to be to monitor the quality of collective worship in local authority schools through the identification of the needs of schools at hub meetings and with education providers such as the Diocesan Board of Education. I believe that some of the hub networks last year were actually discussing collective worship in some detail. I'm not sure if any of the hub leaders want to say anything about that, because schools have been asking for assistance again. And of course, during the lockdown, schools came at this particular issue of collective worship in very creative and different ways, knowing, of course, the law does give you flexibility about groupings for worship. Finally, on number 4.2, this is something that we will have to keep going back to think about, because this could be new work for SACRE this year, to think about the guidance we provide on best practice that's emerged during the COVID-19 lockdown. So that's 4.2. Would you like me to pause there so people, I can see there are 1 or 2 questions coming up.
Yeah, please do, yes. So Helen, have you got a list of people in the order in which they wish to speak?
We have no more questions so far.
Okay, oh, sorry, they're the previous questions. Cliff, Lynn, did you want to say anything? Sorry, I've dominated this bit, but
no, that's fine, Linda. You're doing a brilliant job. No, I have nothing else to add.
Thank you for your
confidence. Can I just add something then?
Yes.
You may know of it. Some others of you may know it through other hats you wear. But Rita Stephen was telling me from the Cornwall Faith Forum that there's a new project which they wish to initiate on Holocaust Memorial Day.
Okay.
And are you aware of that, any of you?
We are now. I wasn't aware of that.
Rita was going to just briefly describe it as a project which would be of interest to SACRE, and section 4 of the action plan is about links with other groups. But I think Rita had to go at 3 o'clock, so she probably is not with us any longer. But she did have a description which she sent to me that I have now lost because I've got so many pieces of paper here, and I don't have it in front of me anymore. But it's only
if Rita could send us details, I'm sure that would be very of interest to SACRE. We can bring it to the next meeting.
We can send it around. That's right. Yes, but I didn't want it to get forgotten. So no. I think that's really quite important.
So, Chair, I suggested in the chat box, perhaps if we acknowledge that this work is going on, that we could ask that the details of it are sent out with the minutes.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be a very good way of doing it. And I've just had a thought whether I could find Rita's. Here we are. Yes. So Rita just briefly described it. The Cornwall Faith Forum is working with Cornwall Council and Kahilat Kerno, a Jewish community group in Cornwall, to create a coordinated approach to Holocaust Memorial Day in January 2021. And they are working with students at Falmouth University to create animations based on the story of Cynthia Hollingsworth, who's a survivor from Auschwitz. There's much more detail which I can send out to you, or that Helen can send out to you in a Word document. But it sounds a very interesting project.
Thank you.
So to try to bring the item to an end, this is all item 7 of the SACRE agenda. We have been through the action plan and very grateful to Clifton and Linda for taking us through it. There are 5 recommendations that are attached to their report, which we do need to make a decision on. Linda began with these. You may remember when this item began, that we accept the revised action plan with any amendments that we've agreed at the meeting, and we have made some very good suggestions for how we go forward. That SACRE continues to improve RE in schools through the support networks and training to promote the agreed syllabus. We have made some suggestions about completing the revised launch and implementation programme under COVID-19 lockdown situation. We know that the circumstances are not clear and will not become clear for some time. That we have talked about the curriculum Kernuic. I'm a little loath to depart from the wording of these recommendations, given that we're on this Teams meeting where it's very hard to start redrafting recommendations. So what I would really like us to do is to accept the recommendations in the light of the discussion that we have had and the suggestions that have been made for the action plan. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That if we start to revise the text of all the recommendations, it could become quite complicated in working out what it is that we're actually going to vote on in the vote that we have in a moment. So, Linda and Cliffy, are you happy for us to move to the recommendations as
Do we need to go to Helen?
made by the discussion that we have had?
I wonder if we need, John, time just to ask for any further questions. We didn't actually discuss number 5 on the action plan, but I think that speaks for itself. That's section 5 about
evaluation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there may be things we can't resolve this time, so there may be recommendations people don't want to go take forward. Number 4, I'm aware that we haven't really spoken much about specific support recommended, because that seems to be quite tight wording, when in fact we've had quite an open discussion about how we get to the support for curriculum Canuic. However, if we think back to the discussion where Graham was explaining how that's being taken forward, perhaps members will remember it is going to happen. Yes. We had some points of action to take forward about putting curriculum Canuic on the Cornwall Council website. Yes. So that may have been lost in the mist of time now after 3/4 of an hour or more.
Well, that's why I put it like it did, because I think we have been party to the discussion. We've heard what was suggested and what is being done, but I didn't really want to get into some morass of trying to revise the wording of your recommendation.
Absolutely.
To reflect the minutiae of all of that, because we'll never get through if we try to do that, I don't think. So what I'm asking is if members of SACRE are willing to vote for the recommendations as we understand them to be in the light of the discussion and the revised action plan that we will get back next time when we have our SACRE meeting. Helen, can you bear with that?
Chairman, before we go to any vote, you've somebody that wants to raise a comment question. Loveday Jenkins.
Sorry, John, I don't want to prolong this, but I think item 3, that we need to say that recommendations of the committee are noted to ensure the completion rather than resolutions are made, because it sounds like we're actually telling our officers to do something which we didn't actually do. We're saying we want something and we were going to look at it in more detail. So if we said that recommendations of the committee are noted to ensure the completion of, that would be better, I think. And I actually think that the specific support recommended is allocated, we should include, because we have been assured that's going to happen anyway.
Yes, so what a wise head you've got, Loveday. So number 3 would read that recommendations are noted to ensure the completion of, and that specific number 4, that specific support is allocated to the implementation of the RE element of curriculum Canuic, which we did note was happening. Yeah. And is part of the action plan already. Yeah. So with that change that Loveday has suggested,
I'd be happy to recommend it with those changes.
Right. Is anyone willing to second Loveday's recommendation then? Sorry, proposition?
We have Katie Fitzsimmons. Katie, was you, it's Helen Snell. Katie, were you seconding that, or did you want to make a further question or comment?
No, I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Katie. That's very helpful. So we have a proposition which is proposed and seconded, and I'd like Helen to take us through the roll call of votes.
Thank you. Can I just confirm the changed recommendation, please? The changes are to item 3, that the recommendations are noted to ensure, etc., etc. What, Loveday, could you confirm the changes, or Chairman, please, could you confirm the changes you wish to make to recommendation 4?
Sorry, Helen, it was to have no change to that. Linda suggested maybe that should be taken out, and I said leave it in.
Okay, lovely, thank you.
So it was to leave it in, yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, members of SACRE, we're voting now on the recommendations for agenda item number 7 on page 7, with that slight change to number 3. So I'll go through in groups again, please. And this is voting. I'm going to ask you to vote for, against, or abstain. So John Keast.
For.
Thank you. Linda Sanders.
For.
Thank you. And we no longer have Sandy Easterbrook in Group A. She's left the meeting, so I'm not able to ask her. So that's 2 for Group A. And then Group B, Felicity Henchley.
For.
Thank you. And Anna Corbett. Sorry, I can't ask Anna because Anna has left the meeting as well. Katie Fitzsimmons.
For.
Thank you. That's 2 voting for in Group B. And Group C, David Barton.
For.
Thank you. And Greg Parrick.
For.
Thank you. And Mike Heron.
Abstain.
Abstain. Thank you. That's 2 voting for in Group C. And Group D, Loveday Jenkins.
For.
Thank you. And Mike Thomas.
For.
Thank you. That's 2 voting for in Group D. So overall, you have a unanimous vote for those recommendations, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. And I just want to reiterate my thanks to Linda and Clifton for the detailed work on that plan. And I hope that they'll now feel equipped to modify it and implement it in the light of the conversation that we've had in this meeting. We're on to item 8, and hopefully we shall be finished by 4 o'clock. Item 8 is about the annual report that SACREs are required to make of their work. And we have a paper which I wrote myself on page 19 through to 21 of the agenda. I hope it's fairly clear. It's a relatively short report, and I hope therefore I don't need to say much more about it. Clearly we do need to make a report of our work of the Cornwall SACRE. We didn't do so last year rather. So we have a report that needs to cover more than 1 year, and the recommendation is quite a simple one, that we commission the preparation of the 2020 annual report of the Cornwall SACRE and ask our consultants to prepare a draft report for us. One of the issues that the consultants will need to address in preparing the report is the data that we include of the external examinations in religious studies at A-level and at GCSE. And in the past, that data has been assembled for us by Jason Herr, who's a consultant used by the county for data collection. And I think we will need just to clarify the arrangement whereby if Jason is used again, the arrangements by which he would do that for us. In the past, when our officer was Tim Osborne, Tim did that directly with Jason, and there'll need to be, I think, some arrangement where perhaps Graham gets in touch with Jason if he is still the appropriate person. I don't know if he's still working in this field, to prepare the data for us for the annual report of SACRE. Graham, are you able to confirm that Jason is still active?
Yeah, Jason is still active and he still is commissioned to do that kind of work. So yes, I'm sure that'll be fine.
Oh, good. So members of SACRE, the recommendation is that we commission our consultants to liaise with Jason and prepare a text for the annual report for us. Any comments or questions before we move to voting on that recommendation?
Chairman, it's Helen Snell. I don't have any comments or questions notified in the chat box.
Fine. In that case, then I'm going to ask you to do a vote as before.
Thank you, Chairman. So we're voting on page 19, the recommendation for agenda item number 8, just the one recommendation, and we'll go through the roll call vote as before. So members are voting for, against, or abstaining. So John Keast.
4.
Thank you. And Linda Sanders.
4.
Thank you. That's 2 in Group A voting for, and Group B, Felicity Henchley.
4.
Thank you. And Katie Fitzsimmons.
4.
Thank you. That's 2 voting for in Group C. Group B. Group C, David Barton.
4.
Thank you. Greg Parrick.
4.
Thank you. And Mike Heron.
4.
Thank you. That's 3 voting for in Group C. And Group D, Loveday Jenkin.
4. Although, can I just say that I know it's a vote. We need to make sure that it's coming from Cornwall Council as the statutory authority. It has to go through the Cornwall Council meeting, doesn't it? The annual report. So we need to liaise with Cornwall Council office.
It's a report from the Cornwall SACRE. I don't think it goes through Cornwall Council because it's a report directly from us about our work.
Sorry, I think there's a statutory function that needs to be clarified.
I think it's a statutory duty of the SACRE to produce its annual report.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt the voting.
No.
Ask Mike and then we can discuss it afterwards.
So can you complete the vote, Helen?
Yes, thank you. And Mike Thomas.
4.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Chairman, that's carried unanimously. The recommendation as printed on page 19. Thank you.
Yes. So just to try to clarify Loveday's point, as I understand it, the statutory duty lies with SACRE to produce its annual report. It clearly connects with Cornwall Council because we rely upon the consultants that Cornwall Council employs on our behalf to prepare the text for us. But I don't think it goes to Cornwall Council in the sense that it's not a Cornwall Council report, it's a Cornwall SACRE report.
No, my point, Chair, was that Cornwall Council under the Act has a statutory function, and that is to accept and approve the annual report, I believe. So it needs to go through the full council meeting as an annual report to be accepted and approved.
Right.
And that's what's happened in the past. So
well,
it's really just a process thing.
Yeah. Whatever the process is that we follow, we must follow that again.
Yeah, that's all I was saying.
Right. Thank you very much for that. So item 9 is collective worship, a verbal report, and Linda referred to this in the item on the SACRE action plan. And it is a useful reminder for us that one of the statutory functions of the Cornwall SACRE, like all SACREs, is to advise on collective worship in schools, which has never been an easy thing for any SACRE to do, partly because resources for SACREs are limited, and partly because the schools now are much more diverse in their establishments with academies and local authority schools and so on. And if there are schools who are seeking advice from SACRE about collective worship, then obviously we would want to respond. Linda, I don't know whether you're able to hear all that. It was, I think, a conversation that you and I had that led to this item coming onto the SACRE agenda. Is there anything you want to add to it?
Yeah. Not any detail other than what I said earlier on. Really, our conversation and with Cliflin was around the fact that schools have been asking, particularly through the hubs, for advice, and we mustn't lose sight of our statutory duties in this area, in the melee of everything else that's happening with RE.
Exactly. So in the action plan, which we've agreed, you have noted the needs to offer help through the hub meetings and the SACRE networks.
Yeah.
And that we might have a subgroup to look at this as a new piece of work this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe then you could come back, the two of you, as our consultants, with some proposals for how we budget for that and timetable it as the year goes on.
Yes, no, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, item 10 is any other business that I consider to be urgent. I've not been asked to provide any other business in this meeting, and so I'm going to bring it to a close with just a word of thanks to you all for bearing with us under the conditions we have to hold this meeting. Thank you to Helen and Graham for setting it up virtually for us. Thank you to all of you for your contributions to it and your patience to stay with it, because it's not nearly so easy having a meeting of this kind as it is when we meet face to face. It all takes longer and is slightly more artificial, but nevertheless we have got through our business, and I'm grateful to you for staying with us, and thank those of you who are new to the SACRE for your contributions particularly. I do hope that you'll enjoy the rest of whatever today's got for you, and those of you working in schools, you are very much in our thoughts for the extra burdens that are placed upon you at this time. Just know that we are so grateful to you for what you're doing for our young people in Cornwall. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chairman. It's Helen Snell. I'll just ask for the live stream to be stopped. So whilst I'm doing so, if everyone could turn their microphones off. Thank you.